Good afternoon. My name is Celeste Kamasa. I am a senior at John Hay Early College and High Tech Academy, and I'm the vice chair of the City Club Youth Forum Council. I am pleased to welcome you to this afternoon's Youth Forum on Bullying. Rashanna Battiste is a native Clevelander and a graduate of John F. Kennedy High School, a student athlete who took great pride in being a team player. Ms. Battiste cemented her place in JFK's history as the first female city champion tennis player and three-time city champion badminton player. The nerd culture was created by nerds, but it's a culture for everyone in 2011. Its mission is not to only stop bullying, but rock individuality. The nerd culture will be featuring a campaign to distribute 10,000 pledge cards to stop bullying and rock individuality. They will be joining forces with other local businesses to sponsor BABS, Bowling Against Bullying and Suicide. Ms. Battiste.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. On my way here, I asked one of my friends, I said, what would be a good icebreaker? And she said, well, it's already cold enough, so forget the ice. Again, my name is Rashanna Battiste, and I'm the CEO of the Nerd Culture. And our company was born right here in Cleveland, Ohio in 2011. And the start of our company, we wanted to accomplish three things. And that was to share what we love to do with everyone. Number two, we wanted to create a way to do something positive, to be beneficial and helpful to others. And the third reason that we started our company was to proactively become the standard to impact change in young people. So today, what I would like to do is to turn my attention on each of you as individuals, because the issue of bullying really does affect everyone in this room as young people. And so that we'll really focus on the word impact as a company, because that's the difference that we really want to make. And so it seems as though that the word bullying, we've become desensitized to that word. And so as a company, we've decided to remove that word from our vocabulary and to really focus on you again, to rock individuality. And that simply means to be yourself, simply. And since bullying really does affect everyone, whether you bully, whether you are bullied, or if you witness it, the effects of bullying, it's very profound in that the effects can really carry over into your adulthood. So that's really the angle that we wanted to attack, that by encouraging each of you to be individuals, that we can make a difference. And so to tell you that bullying hurts, that it wounds, and that in some occasions it can even kill a person, that's the angle that, again, that we really wanted to attack. And a lot of people will ask me, how do you stop bullying? And the better question really becomes, how do you slow down this social epidemic and even a pandemic? And my answer really is, you want to slow down the effect of bullying. And each of you here today have a key in that. And I'll share with you what that is. Each of you have the moral and social responsibility to be morally and socially responsible. And that means that you take care of each other, your friends. So, excuse me. I also wanted to share with you guys it's from a book written by Kevin A. Hansen, and it's called Secret Regrets. And this book, it highlights that bullying not only affects the person that's bullied, but the person that is actually bullied. So just listening to these two stories that I have. When I was in 7th grade, I threw a note at a pudgy, dirty, smelly girl who was avoided by everyone. The note read, "You stink." As it rolled across the lunch table, I was appalled by what I had done. She read it with no change in expression. I never got up the courage to apologize. Several years later, she committed suicide. It had come out later that she had been kept in awful conditions, sexually abused, and beaten. I'll be 62 years old pretty soon, and I think of her and how I added to her misery. Before that day, I had always been one to stick up for the underdog. I've been trying to make up for that one evil act ever since. Secret regret number 2. I think I said it there. I regret telling a classmate that a mentally disabled girl should go jump in a dumpster because she was a piece of garbage. I wanted people to like me, and I've regretted saying that ever since. It hurts me to this day. I hope she is doing well now because it breaks my heart just thinking of that moment. That was 8 years ago. So whether we participate, whether we watch or bully another human being, we really need to understand that our words, our actions really can have a profound effect and impact on a person's life, not only now, but for the rest of your lives and theirs. So you can't really wash away the sting of what you say to someone, and you can't make amends after something tragic happens to someone. So, and I know personally that the pressure to fit in and to be liked can be extremely powerful. So I just want to briefly just share an experience that I had as a high school student. My homeroom teacher, I was going to class, and she stopped me in the hallway, and she said, "Thank you." And I asked her, I said, "Well, why did you thank me?" And she said, "I want to thank you because you never conformed to fit in." And she said to never change that. And sadly, my homeroom teacher, she passed away recently, but how proud she would be to know and to see that those words that she said so many years ago had a profound effect on me. And now I can share those words and inspire others to not only rock individuality, but to not bully other people. So as a company, that really is our goal, to embrace and to encourage and inspire other people to rock individuality, to be yourself. And so that's really a challenge that all of us should inwardly look at and say, how can we impact someone, not only now, but for the rest of their lives? That's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Our next speaker, Denine Goolsby, is a native Clevelander and graduate of Shaw High School located in East Cleveland. She received a Bachelor's of Science degree from Kent State University with a concentration in elementary education in 1977. She began her career as a teacher in East Cleveland City School District in 1977 and remained there until 1989. She took a sabbatical from the district in 1989 to pursue a master's degree in educational administration and principal's certification from Kent State University. After graduating in 1990, she returned to the East Cleveland schools. She later received a superintendent's license from Ashland University. In 1992, Ms. Goolsby accepted an administrative position with the Cleveland Heights University Heights City Schools. While in the district, she served in the capacities of elementary associate, assistant middle school principal, elementary principal, and middle school principal. Since 2008, Ms. Goolsby has served as a regional superintendent, an academic coach, and is presently serving as the executive director of Humanware, social and emotional learning for the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. This work also encompasses the Closing the Achievement Gap initiative. Ms. Goolsby is a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, Inc., and has served as the president of a local graduate chapter. She resides in Richmond Heights with her husband, Julian. She has one daughter, Devin, who is a graduate of The Ohio State University. Ms. Goolsby.
As I listen to that, I say, oh my, you've been around for quite some time. Please repeat after me. The change I want to see, begins with me. The change I want to see, begins with me. Everyone in the room has a stance, and that stance is either that of an upstander, a bystander, a victim, or a bully. So I pose the question to you individually, and I like to challenge your minds and help you think through the process. Which one are you? And are you in a place where you want to be, or would you like to change that position in your life? I'm a person who believes that our schools, the culture of our schools, depends on the impact and the involvement of our young people. Students have a voice that is critical to the success of a school culture, making sure that things are happening for students, the level of activities and education that is present in that school depends on the voice of the students. I know a lot of times adults, when we are in positions of being quote unquote in charge of schools, we like to think that we are the ones running that school and we are the ones controlling that school. But what I learned is that it is the voice of the students that makes a difference. When students are involved in the decision making in their schools, when they are a part of the decisions, the resolutions, the changes, you will see a total change in the school environment. In the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, we have chosen not only to approach this from a realm of bullying prevention, but from social emotional learning. So when a student finds themselves versed in and having mastery in being self-aware of who they are, socially aware of how they interact with one another and the importance of each person that they come in contact with, when they are able to self-manage themselves and make decisions about what they are going to do and not do, when they can make responsible decisions and build relationships, you have a more well-rounded student who is able to interact with their peers and the adults that they come in contact with. And I often equate this to adults. Now, today I had to be here to speak. I was invited and I was very honored to come. But I got here at like 11:20 and I rolled around the parking lot and rolled around the parking lot looking for a space. Now, if I had not been a smart decision maker, I probably would have just gone back to the office. But I knew that I was on slate to represent the district, and I knew that you all were waiting to hear what I had to say, and they keep calling us experts, and I take that as an honor, but I'm a learning person because I believe we can always learn. So in our district, with bullying prevention, what we did, we started in 2012 with over 8,000 students participating in seeing the documentary Bully that was released a couple of years ago. So those students went to see the movie, and there were dialogues at every school in the district around that particular movie. Then we had an anti-bullying summit where the students came, they participated in workshops, and they became the team for their school. So presently, we have a NOW team in every school in our district, and NOW stands for Not on Our Watch. And that team is led now by a staff person who is in place to create positive activities and experiences for the young people in the school. So in our district, we have taken the stance that when students are social and emotionally aware, when they are confident in themselves, when they can help make part of the decisions, that our school cultures will change and our upstanders will increase. So I ask you, in your school, what is the avenue that you use when you see that someone is being bullied? Who is the person you report it to? What is the process? What is the routine? The procedure? If someone comes and tells you about a situation that they're going through, how do you help them? Or do you not? So I would like to charge each one of you, since you are high school students, to take a stance and think about that individual in your school who is responsible for making decisions, and let them know that you're interested in starting a group or a movement that will help eradicate bullying in your schools. I was a victim of a bully, a couple of them, in elementary school. 6th grade. And people pick reasons to bully you. Either you're too big, you're too tall, you're too small, you're too dark, you're too light, you don't speak well, you're too smart, you're not smart enough, whatever the reason might be. But I was a fortunate one because I had parents who were willing, who went to the school and worked with the teachers responded, they went to the homes, they worked with the parents. That was 100 years ago though. So, we still have those avenues, but we also need to make sure that our schools are places that our children can be comfortable and feel comfortable coming to school. Because right now, there are so many students who do not come to school because of bullying. I'm sure you know some who stay home because they don't want to have to deal with that person that's going to bully them. 75% of the school shootings are the result of harassment and bullying. And see, you all live in a totally different age. You now have cyberbullying, where things can be on any emails, social media, the pieces that never go away. So I challenge you to think about, am I an upstander, a bystander, a victim, or a bully, and what am I going to do about that? Thank you.
Our last speaker, Naim Sanders, is a dynamic leader and educational advocate with 13 years of varied experience as an educator and principal for post-secondary schools, small and large. He has also worked as an adjunct college professor at the Notre Dame College and most recently served as an educational consultant for the Ohio Department of Education. Mr. Sanders holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education from Butler University and a master's degree in educational leadership from the University of Dayton. In his spare time, he writes books and travels as a motivational speaker. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you. There are always two fears that you have when you have the opportunity to speak to groups. Number one is speaking to a group of individuals after they eaten a great lunch, because you have to keep them awake. And number two, being last in a long line of previous great speakers. So I'm going to try to not bore you with what I have to say today in my message. I was looking last night on some research in regards to bullying and what the statistics say in regards to bullying. And I ran across a website called DoSomething.org, and it stated that over 3.2 million students are victims of bullying each year. 1 in 4 teachers see nothing wrong with bullying and will only intervene 4% of the time. Approximately 160,000 teens skip school every day simply because of bullying. 71% of students report incidents of bullying as a problem in the schools in which they attend. And 1 out of 10 students, get this, drop out of high school simply because of repeated bullying. We clearly have a major issue facing our youth today, and it's a growing problem that strikes at the heart and soul of our schools, impacting deeply the students that attend them. Too many of our students leave homes every day during the week in hopes of attaining a quality education, only to be afraid of the consequences that plague them, with harassment being ensued by a bully. Schools are designed to keep students safe from physical, emotional, and mental harm. The institutional conglomerate known as schools is not and never has been created to serve as a dangerous environment for any student, teacher, or administrator to feel unsafe, unattended to, or where they may feel their rights may be violated as a human being. You have the power to say no more to bullies, and you have the power to stop bullying occurring in your school. No matter the school program, no matter the adults, you have the ability to stop it because it starts with you in your generation in your school. For 1 second, if you will allow me to, I want to share a true story. This story, unfortunately, ends in an unfortunate fatality. For the purpose of this story, I have changed the names, but everything else is true as I witnessed on one of the worst days of my life. It was the year 2014, and I was an assistant principal at a high school in Columbus, Ohio. As an assistant principal, I served and mentored many of our young men who had been labeled at risk. On this particular day, I was sitting in my office and I was talking to a group of students. The door was open and I heard one of my students named Sean walk past my office in between two police officers who were on duty at the school and say, "These guys outside just tried to jump me. I'm going to go get my gun and I'm going to go deal with it." I immediately ran out into the hallway and told Sean to come back. He kept walking and I went after him slightly. The police officer stopped me and said, "Naim, go ahead and go back to your office. We'll get Sean and bring him back." I got back to my seat and I began to listen and to participate in the group that was going on. About 15 minutes later, another one of my students named Calvin came running speedily past my door. I grabbed my walkie-talkie to see where he was headed and I followed Calvin across the street. When I turned to the right, I can see the police cars coming. I can hear the sirens. I looked down in front of me, standing a few feet away, and there what I would find out later was a 17-year-old boy who attended another school. He was laying there trembling on the side of the street. His body was twitching every few seconds. As I walked even closer, I could see the chunks of blood laying in the street and on the curb, as the 17-year-old boy was the victim of a gunshot to the head. As the police moved the crowd back, one of my school police officers informed me that Sean had just shot this boy and taken off in his car. I often drive past that same street, and in fact, the current school where I'm at is less than 2 miles away. You see, that wasn't the first time that Sean had been threatened or harassed or bothered by this group of young men in his neighborhood. I had spoken to his parents on numerous occasions. I had worked with his younger siblings and was not aware of the bullying that he had faced in his neighborhood and what was going on in his life outside of school. He unwisely made a decision to get his dad's gun based upon a harassment that had started the night before. A young man with great potential lost his precious life at 17, and there's no coming back from that. Sean, who attended my school, was a senior and was slated to graduate that May. Instead, he was sentenced in June of 2005, convicted of murder and gun possession, sentenced to a mandatory sentence of 20 years. He's not eligible for parole until 2014. You see, young people, bullying is real. It's harmful, it's dangerous, and its effects can be deadly. If you are a bully, I plead with you today to stop the harassment and intimidation of others. Life is way too short, and there are too many great things that you are destined to accomplish, and ruining the spirit of another human being does absolutely no earthly good, and it does nothing for you or your well-being. Whatever that makes you so unhappy, that would make you want to hurt others, I encourage you to seek help not only from your school, but from your community, from your family, and there are a multitude of other resources out there. For those of you that are being bullied, you have the power to stop it. But you have to do it within the confines of safety and rational thinking. The responsibility and the decision that you make in order to stop bullying should never hurt yourself or hurt others. Make the choice to stop bullying and choose to be a solution to this bullying crisis that plagues our schools today. I thank you for your time and for listening.
Thank you. At this time, we will have mid-forum announcements.
Good afternoon. My name is Pierre, and I'm a senior at Cleveland School of the Arts High School, and I'm a member of the City Club Youth Forum Council. Today at this City Club Youth Forum, we are listening to Rashanna, Denine, Goolsby, and Naim Sanders. We will return to our speakers in just a few minutes, but we first encourage you to formulate questions for our speaker. Now we will break for a few announcements. Since 1997, the City Club has hosted the Youth Forum series. Throughout the school year, students from around Greater Cleveland area invite speakers, students, community to 4 programs for and about youth. We would like to thank the members of the council whose names are in the program and for all of their hard work throughout the year planning these. Today's City Club Youth Forum is made possible through the generous grants from AT&T, Thomas H. White Foundation, Harry K. and Emma R. Fox Foundation. We would like to thank our funders and our supporters for their generous support. Now we would like to return to our speakers for the traditional City Club questions and answers. To ask a question, and it must be a question only, please raise your hand. As courtesy, please stand, state your name and school, hold your applause until the end of the program. Our microphone holders are Leah, Kania Hell, and Kristen H. Our first question, please.
Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Rayon. I go to Cleveland School of the Arts, and I'm in 11th grade. And my question is, with the percentage of bully rate in the United States overall, how do you think you could prevent it in Cleveland? Just us.
In your school, there is a student advisory council. If you are not a member of that, it's something that we instituted this year as a part of the Cleveland Plan. And it's a group of 16 students who come to a session, talk about their conditions for learning survey, which is a survey we give 3 times a year, and students respond to different areas in their school: safety and safe and secure climate, challenge, support, and social emotional learning. Your team should come back to your school with a plan of resolution of how to address it. I know that if you go to your principal and you talk to him about this forum today, and you ask him about setting up something with the NOW team that is present in your school, and the assemblies, the opportunities, and creating a culture where it's safe, then that's the way that we have chosen to address it, because we believe it's a grassroots movement that begins with our students and at our schools. So let Mr. Kuntz know that you were here today and that you are interested in doing that work, and I'll make sure that that question was asked, that he knows that. Okay?
Hi, my name is Maggie Kalina, and I go to Shaker Heights High School. I was just wondering how each of you defines bullying.
Great question. Thanks, Maggie. Personally, for me, I would define bullying by unwanted behavior that's pressed upon another individual. When someone tells you to stop doing something, when that's not respected, that's a form of bullying. Bullying can occur whether it be mental, physical, and emotional harassment to another person.
Typically is over time. So if this person is doing this to you repeatedly, it's considered bullying, along with what Mr. Sanders just contributed.
And my definition of bullying would be, it's a form of to torment, to diminish, or to intimidate another person that is deemed weaker or as an easy target.
Hi, my name is Louis Sigua, and I also go to Shaker Heights High School. So we've talked a lot about this tormenting bullying, but at our school and in our whole school system, that's not as big of a problem as the more nuanced, often less intentional form of bullying that happens between friends over, as you said, a longer period of time. But it's still just as much of a problem. It causes disruptions in learning, and really does cause that emotional damage down the line. And I'm wondering what you think can be done about that, as well as if you think teachers and administration are always the best option to go to, because I've talked to plenty of people that are victims and have said that the administration really does not do a very good job of handling the situation.
And that is part of the statistics that Mr. Sanders reported today, that oftentimes school officials may think that it's just something that happens, it's a rite of passage, So I would just encourage you to keep saying something to someone, whether it be your parents, whether it be a friend who you think has some influence. You know those individuals in your school population who have the influence in your school environment. Whether it's you going to your administration and saying, look, now we have this issue. As students, we are seeing this issue. You all sometimes don't realize the power that you have. When you show up in the office and you're very organized and you have your program together and outlined and you come to adults with it, they will listen to you. So think about what you're facing. You're saying that that's more of a problem than some may see, because sometimes as adults we don't see what's happening in your population. So call it to the attention. Try that avenue. And you're very concerned about it, and I know that if you come organized and you come with purpose, any administrator worth their salt will listen to you.
You also, from my interpretation of what you're saying, you may be referring to what's called teasing. And teasing can be a legitimate form of bullying. Anytime, again, going back to what I said earlier, anytime the behavior is unwanted by the recipient of the comments or the statements, it's a form of bullying. The best thing to do in those terms is to just communicate to that individual, it's not wanted, you don't want that, and then taking it to a higher authority when necessary and when you feel appropriate. But anytime it's not wanted, it's teasing, harassment, bullying, those are pretty much in the same category. And of course, growing up young, you know, you and your friends, you tease each other about different things. But the difference is when you're teasing someone and they receive it as a joke or they receive it as, you know, a mutual teasing between parties, that's different from someone who's being bullied and then being teased from the standpoint of it's not wanted.
Hello, my name is Shaquille Tyson from Shaw High School. I'm a senior. And my question is, do you believe we should start dealing with bullying in elementary school, because so much name calling and fights can happen in elementary school, but it get brushed off, or should we start in middle school or high school?
What I found is that bullying, it starts before that. It really does. I've talked to a great deal of people that their first experience with bullying really is at home. If you have a parent that is verbally abusive, physically abusive, those are acts of bullying. And so a younger person, as you all know, you're like sponges, you soak up everything. So those become reactionary, I guess you could say, you act out what you see, basically. So it's easier to see someone that you see as weaker or someone that it's easy to pick on them just because it is easy. So I really believe that at home, that's where it's going to start. So preschool, grade school, you know, you're kind of moving into the realm where those behaviors are already inculcated in you already. So it really needs to be addressed, I believe, at home first.
And the statistics show that most of the bullying occurs in elementary school. So it starts very young. It seems to subside as you go through middle school and high school. And part of that is because I know for myself, my ceasing of it was changing groups. When you're in an elementary school, you're basically there with the same people all the time. But when you move to middle school, then you're able to find your niche. Mine was music and drama. So I was able to find a certain group of people that I could hang around, which took me away from that group. So most of bullying, according to statistics, occurs in elementary school. So I would say yes to your question. Bullying needs to be addressed in elementary school, because if we can change those behaviors young, as students grow up, they will not carry them into young adulthood.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Jones. I attend Thurgood Marshall, Johnson Bridge Academy. And I was wondering if you have different solution or alternative for online bullying, because there's a lot of online bullying and a lot of people are killing themselves over online bullying because the whole world can see it. Do y'all have any solutions?
currently, I'm the executive director of Provost Academy, Ohio, and we're actually an online school. Prior to serving as executive director of Provost Academy, I was a principal at another high school, and online bullying has run at a rapid pace with social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and emails and texting. The hardest part as a school administrator is monitoring that when so much of it is occurring outside the realms of school late at night. I can't tell you the number of parents that have come into my office showing me emails. When it gets to that point, it's really goes into really the legal form of harassment, intimidation, where you have to involve the police. It is so sad to see what people put online and young people not fully understanding is when you say something between you and I, we're talking, whether I say something to you offensive or you say something to me, those words go, okay? When you put something online, it doesn't go away. It's there, it stays there. Even if you delete it, there's a way to pull it back up. I think what needs to happen is there be more programs to really educate young people on the effectiveness on cyberbullying and how it just has that negative impact on so many young people. Oftentimes it's done without thinking through as far as what dangers and what harm it's causing.
Excuse me, I think too, that's why I spoke to the point of, as far as stopping bullying, so many people have asked me, how do you stop it? I mean, think about, can you really stop it? It's like a freight train that's traveling 80 miles per hour. You wouldn't just jump in front of that freight train and say stop. It takes about 1 mile for a freight train to slow down or to come to a complete stop. So with bullying, it really is a proactive and it's a slower process than just saying, you touched me or you said something to me, stop. Because as we can see, a lot of people don't respect the word stop anymore. They just don't. So there has to be another outlook that we approach it. And I think it really does start with each and every last one of us in this room, because for you to say stop bullying and I continue to do it, it's not respectful behavior. So those are the angles that we really have to look at to see how we can slow it down before it can actually come to an end or to a stop.
I love that question. I'm not going to sit here like I have a resolution for you, because if I did, you wouldn't know me and I wouldn't be sitting here because I'd be independently wealthy. But I would say that the same thing goes in effect for cyberbullying as in-person, face-to-face bullying. Find out what your avenues of report. If it continues, as Mr. Sanders said, if it's outside of the school realm, deal with the police if you need to. Don't be afraid to take it to the limit that you have to take it to be safe. When it comes back into the school, even if it's happening outside of the school, if it's brought back into the school, then it belongs to the school. The school has to deal with it. So make sure you figure out where your supports are. Who are the people that can support you in that? Who do you report it to? How do you process it? And where do you go to get help? So if it's outside at your house, it's the police, it's the legal system. If it comes into the school, and you know how on Monday morning, those things from the weekend just kind of creep into the school environment, don't be afraid to share that with school personnel that this happened over the weekend, because once it hits our doors, we're responsible. Okay.
Hi, my name's Camilla, and I go to John Hay for architectural design. My question is, if you are in a situation where you're witnessing bullying and it becomes violent and you don't have time to get an adult or someone that can stop it, what are you supposed to do?
That's a very good question.
There are, great question, by the way. I always say you have to use your best judgment and take into account you're cared for as a person, and you always want to intervene to some degree. But that's really a judgment call and a decision that you have to make, because I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer. I would hope that you wouldn't, or someone wouldn't allow someone else to be victimized. but we all have decisions and choices to make. So I think for the most part, it's one that's led up to the individual.
And I would like to suggest that it's never too late. So if you don't have time in that given moment, if it's bullying, it may occur again. So if you don't have the opportunity right then the first opportunity you have, then you report it to someone.
Hi, my name is Naim Mustafa. I'm a sophomore at Euclid High School. I've witnessed bullying. As me being a bystander, I kind of feel obligated to get involved in the situation. But getting involved in the situation, it kind of penalized me getting called down to the office and. But how do I stop it but not get involved in the situation to the point where I'm getting penalized for it?
You guys are stomping us.
Those are, again, another tough question similar to hers. I always say sometimes that we all have a choice to make in our decisions. And sometimes in making decisions, there follows consequences. The question is not often asked of should you do it. The question you have to ask sometimes is the consequence worth it? For you, the answer may be yes. For others, the answer may be no. But if you're done with the motive of a greater cause, and the consequences, no matter how detrimental they may appear, if your actions resulted in your purpose for that greater cause, maybe the consequences are worth it. If it sounds confusing, it's because it is.
And maybe, we're all from different schools and different environments and working with different administrative staffs. And maybe if you talk to that person, your student code of conduct for your district, whatever that might be, and express it as a concern before you're in the moment. Express as a concern that, sometimes I see bullying in the school and I would like to stop it, but I'm afraid I'm going to be consequenced for it. And find out what the realm is that you need to stay in to handle that. Because those decisions are made on the spot with that particular administrator, so find out in your camp what that should look like.
Hi, I'm Summer from Hudson High School, and you said that 4% of teachers won't do anything or will do anything. I think that that's an even bigger problem than the bullying itself. So don't you think there's a seminar or something that teachers should have to do since that percentage is so low?
Right, that was according to the statistics on DoSomething.org. And I agree, there should be definitely workshop professional development for teachers to maybe provide training on intervention strategies to stop bullying. So definitely from the statistics that were reported, that's a low number. I agree.
Absolutely. We have in our schools, we no longer have in-school suspension. We have places called planning centers where students can go and receive intervention training when there's something that they're faced with. So that's something that we have in our district where there is an adult that is in the school trained to help students with interventions for challenges that they face. So yes, I thoroughly agree that it needs to be brought to the forefront for the adults in the school because things have just changed.
Hello, my name is Jalen. I'm a junior from Cleveland School of Arts. This question is more on a personal note. What have you, I know you stated that you're more of a learner, but what have you specifically done to be classified as an expert in this prevention? Have you all been personally bullied?
That's a good question because I was asking that question earlier. I work in the field. I do what I can, what I know how to do, and I'm always willing to go to professional development sessions to see what's new on the horizon. But my job is to make sure that the initiatives we have in place to support students are working and happening. So that's what I'm doing. It's a work of passion for me because I believe that every child should be in an environment where they're safe and they can learn and soar. So my piece that I do is to work with people to ensure that that's happening in schools.
Great question, by the way. And I work extensively with students inside of schools and outside of schools, whether it be members of gangs and trying to get them to settle their differences in a peaceful solution way. Working with community organizations and dealing with situations with family and homes where students have been bullied and victimized. Personally, in my life that I know of, I have not been bullied, but dealing with it firsthand as a teacher and school administrator.
Yep, and for me, this is, of the three panelists up here, this is new for us as a company because we really wanted to focus on something that could impact young people. And when the whole issue of bullying came up, that was the first thing that came to my mind. And I said no, because it really is a huge issue. And we were just like this small company just starting out. So I said, how can we make an impact on you guys as a whole to do something positive? So, and even being, I won't say a victim of bullying, but I was teased in high school, you know, because I talk funny. People thought I was from Delaware. I don't know why, but I got teased for that relentlessly. But to just lend some credence to your question, you know, this is just, it's new. So we're learning from each of you as we meet you, as we talk to you, how we can proactively impact those changes that you guys want to see and that you should see as young people, because it really is affecting your lives, not only in high school, grade school, but as you go off to college. And as I mentioned before, this really does impact you into your adulthood. You know, I meet people that are older than me that have still been affected by bullying. So like I mentioned before, it's a gradual process to really try to slow down before we can come to a complete stop of this social epidemic that we're in.
Hi, I am Jaquan Blue from Shaker Heights, Ohio. I'm a senior. I was wondering, there seems to be this cultural mentality of, I survived it, so you can too. So how do we get those, or more of the people who survived, who were bullied and survived it, to get more involved with younger kids?
Well, for us, again, as a company, lending our voice, our time, and our support to the younger guys, which is all of you here, and even into your school systems, we want to become more vocal. We want to become more active and visual so that you see that we're not only trying to make a change with you, but it becomes a positive epidemic. Just as bullying is a negative behavior, when we can say, hey, we're going to do something positive, that becomes a spreading effect. So as I mentioned, it starts right here with everyone that's in this room. If, as Mr. Sanders said, if you are a bully, if you witness it, if you're participating, then today is your day to stop. It's your day to stop, because it's not for us to say, you know, don't do that. You know, it really becomes an individual effort to say, I want to contribute to the greater good instead of lending a negative energy to destroying someone's life, to impact them in a negative way.
Culture shifts are always challenging in itself. Anytime you seek out to do that, you definitely are moving uphill. I just encourage you to continue to spread the word. It's something that occurs over time. You know, it's difficult to push a needle, but continue to be that avenue to reach out to older people who have survived bullying, and then being able to give testimonies of the effects that it's had on them. So.
And the same is true with the adults in your school, bringing them back around to when they were young people and the things that they experienced, because this is not new, it's been around forever. So as the panelists stated, change is difficult. It takes 3 to 5 years chronically to change movements. So as you try to change, you take one little step at a time, and with adults, bringing them back to the beginning of why they went into education and why they wanted to serve people in the beginning.
Hello, my name is Warren Franklin III, and I'm a junior at Cleveland School of the Arts. My question was dealing more so with suicide with students and friends and family. What's the best approach you think so if you have a friend or a family member that's thinking about committing suicide or actually taking steps towards it, but you know it's a real touchy subject and you have to approach it in the best way possible? What do you guys think that is?
Well, I have a very good friend who runs a suicide prevention organization, and there was a young lady that contacted the Nerd Culture through email, and she said that she was actually contemplating suicide. And because of our message of trying to be positive and evoke change, she said that she was not considering suicide anymore. And so before we got to that point, I reached out to the young lady that has the organization. I said, hey, how do you begin to attack this? Because I really have no expertise in suicide. And so she said that you have to be responsible in getting her in touch with the proper help. So for me, that meant that I had to reach out. This young lady lived in New York. So I had to contact the suicide prevention line there, and I spoke with one of the operators there, and she said that, you know, I just needed to give her all the information, and she actually wound up getting in touch with this young lady and getting her some help. And I think the young lady actually, she is actually doing much better now, but like you said, suicide is very touchy. You have to be very aware of the people that you're in contact with when you see signs of maybe that's something that they could be leaning to. And no one can actually prevent someone from doing that one final act to themselves. So if we can kind of just interject in that moment, you know, to let them know you are worth being here, you know. But it's very touchy, as you said, very touchy, very touchy.
I will echo her comments. You know, I think stressing the importance of just getting the proper help and doing something along those lines.
Letting that person know that you care deeply for them, and they're telling you something that's very difficult that you have to address, and finding someone that you can trust to get them the assistance so that you're protecting yourself and how you're feeling about that.
Hello, my name is Jerome Stanton, and I go to St. Ignatius High School. And coming from an all-guys school, I feel like people who are bullied and go to seek help from teachers or administration would get like singled out, seeming like weaker, trying to go and get help instead of sticking up for themselves or something. What would you suggest someone who is being bullied or is witnessing bullied do in that situation?
So who is that undercover person that you can talk to? That undercover adult who might not be in your school. Maybe it's your parents. Your parents sent you to St. Ignatius. Confidentially, maybe they can maneuver and let the folks in your building know that that's an issue without implicating you. You know, maybe there's a parent network where that can be discussed among the parents of the students of the school, so that you're not on Front Street and being considered a quote-unquote snitch, you know, telling what's going on. But maybe there's some undercover way to do that through the parent group.
It definitely takes courage to break that cycle. And oftentimes, the person who exhibits that courage will be followed by others who are feeling the same way in that situation. In terms of a culture, in terms of all-boys school, just recently on the media, we've seen the effects of bullying in the NFL, in the locker room in the Miami Dolphins. So it's something that occurs in multiple environments. It's just a matter of 1, 2, 3, multiple people having the courage to stand up and to do something about it.
Crystal Coster. I'm from Cleveland School of the Arts, and my question is, with addressing bullying, do you think that it should also be addressed in classrooms as well?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yes.
Hi, I'm Charles Madison. I'm a junior at MC Squared STEM. If kids in elementary school understood the consequences that could go further along in elementary school all the way to high school, do you think that bullying could be prevented?
Yes, that is our approach. We start in pre-K through 5 with the PASS program that teaches students to recognize their feelings and the feelings of others and how to be more compassionate toward one another. So we think that if we start at a very young age building compassion and empathy for each other and for ourselves, that will carry on into the middle and high school levels.
My name
Maya from Shaker Heights High School. So my question was, how do you measure the effects of your efforts to end bullying, and do you feel that bullying has become more or less of a problem in your lifetime?
Your first question, how do you measure the efforts? Definitely, I think if you looked at the data in regards to how many more incidents, the culture and how it's reported, that's one way to gauge, but although understanding that data doesn't present everything, I don't know if it's gotten better as far as the decline of bullying. I think it's become more prevalent through social media, so you hear more incidents and you track it. Years ago when I was in school, they didn't have the internet, so I don't think anyone was taking tally of the bullying incidents, whereas now it's recorded more, and with the media, it's put out there more for people and for the public to see. So I can't say that it's gotten better or even worse in that situation.
In our schools, we use our Conditions for Learning survey that is completed by students in grades 2 through 12, and a portion of that speaks to bullying. And when we notice that there's a case of bullying in a school where it's a severe issue, then that team is charged with creating an action plan of things that they will put in action to address that. We give that 3 times a year, which allows us to use it diagnostically so that we can see if it's changing. And if it's not, then we go back to the drawing board and decide on what we need to tweak. So that is what we're doing now.
Hi, my name is Lisa Ellis. I'm a school counselor at MC Squared STEM High School, and I've heard a lot of students kind of touch on the fear of repercussions or being a snitch, and we are actually in the process of instituting a lockbox system. We're going to call it the Anonibox. I'm sure I'm going to get some really interesting notes in there that have nothing to do with bullying, but
That's excellent.
It keeps things interesting. But that's one way, and you don't have to have a box in your school to anonymously leave a note for your counselor or your administrator. Slip a note in a teacher's mailbox. That's always a way to get the message across as well if you see something.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Nick Rutherford. I am a junior at Walsh Jesuit High School and am a member of the City Club Youth Forum Council. Today at this City Club of Youth Forum, we've had the pleasure of listening to Rashanna Battiste, Denine Goolsby, and Naim Sanders. Before you go, we would like to ask you to fill out the surveys on your tables and return them at the door. Thank you to our speakers, and thanks to all of you. This forum is now adjourned.